Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frank's Retirement Home. And of course, happy April Fool's Day here. I'm Freaky G, joined by Deacon, and we have a foolish set ahead of us, I'm sure. All right, Deacon?
Oh, absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here, as always, with you, Freaky. I love working with you, man.
Same here, man. I can share that sentiment for sure. As we get ready for this Canes division matchup between the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents and UwU Shoguns. I'm excited for this one because we're fighting to stay out of the gauntlet between these two goofy teams.
Yeah, the teams may be goofy, but the stakes on the line certainly are not. And I'm excited to see how these two teams come into, last regular season set and potentially, like you said, who neither wants to go to the gauntlet, so who wants it more?
hmm And between these two teams, they have a hell of a roster between both of them. Cyberpunk Otters have a Daddy Neptune. No, yeah, Daddy Neptune for him. They got Jacob Frosty-Cone stepping in today, and not to mention you got the Flash in the jungle. But on the other side, we got the Shoguns who made a showing of themselves. With Ben Dizzle and Solo Lane, Fatty Bacon, Doctor Shrew, quite the lineup for both these teams right here.
Absolutely, man. We bring the highest possible level of Smite competition to your eyes here at Frank's Retirement Home. I mean, where where else are you gonna go see action like this and bands like these coming out? Nowhere else.
Yeah, it's top of the top here. Kane's division stuff. I mean, it's Odin, Achilles, and Charon banned away by the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents here. And the UwU Shoguns taking away some of the more DPS orientation here with the Thoth ban and the Hachi ban. Not going to leave the Cthulhu out of that one. He's been popping off in the meta here recently as well. So he gets to take the back seat in this game alongside those two. But run me through this Thoth ban. Why is he being prioritized, even though it seems like some other mages may have taken up that top spots?
I mean, Thoth and Cuckoo may have relinquished their hold as the top two mages, but they are definitely still part of the pool now. And sometimes you just don't want to deal with an enemy who can hit you from further away than you can hit him, and an ult that, if it connects, just obliterates health bars.
Yeah, and give him enough time in late game for sure. He will possibly one shot your backline, one of them, if not both of them. But he's not in this game, so not a possibility at all, at least not from that particular character. There's still some characters left open that can do that. Rootin' Tootin' Rodents, though, gonna stick to a god that's been talked about as a really strong solo lane pick and potentially still a strong support pick, and it's this Jing Qian here. Let's talk about this one a little bit, Deacon, and discuss what makes him a strong top pick right now.
Well, I mean, he obviously got some nice buffs in the recent patch, but also like the items and play style that these Guardian solos want to build and play is just a little more viable now. So he just brings to the table so much in the team fight presence. You obviously don't pick Jing Chen for the laning phase. You just pick Jing Chen to get through the first 15 minutes or so, and then you join up with your team and you wreak absolute havoc upon the enemy.
Fair enough. And another strong Guardian pick from the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents is the Sobek pick here. Shogun's going to go for that Ishtar Athena in their top two. Ishtar has kind of stayed pretty consistent in that area of top contention hunters, as well as the on her that the Rodents have picked up here. Athena, on the other hand, has seen nerf after nerf after nerf to her kit. And I think the final nail in the coffin, something we talked about uh, personally before we even came to this cast. Uh, Athena's just really fallen off with her most recent nerf.
Yeah, the decision to take the block stacks away from her and give her auto attack damage mitigation stacks of, I believe, 60% instead. In exchange, you get the stacks earlier and more frequent. So, in theory, mathematically, it might balance out to almost the same, but it just feels so much worse. And as you said, it comes after a long line of nerfs to Athena while they've been trying
Mhm.
to kind of shove her aside. So the fact that she's still viable and able to be played does go to show just how strong something as simple as global rotation and dash taunt is. But
Mhm.
her numbers around those two factors are weaker now than they've been in quite a long time. But if you hit a dash taunt into, a Kraken, it's still a combo that, when it connects is absolutely gold and will win you team fights in a matter of seconds.
Absolutely, and I tend to agree with that. Even with the nerf to everything else in her kit, her taunt has still remained pretty well untouched, so that attack speed slow is still relatively strong. I believe it sits at somewhere around the 35% range. Same goes for the fact that that taunt lasts for a consistent, 2.5 seconds. Don't quote me on that. Somewhere in that ballpark. So the main part of her kit, her keystone ability, if you will, uh, is still very strong, and the follow up off of that is always going to be viable. And Shogun's making some very sensible bans here in the next stage, taking away this Awilix and this Agni, something that you yourself has actually been quite fond of. And the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents are always going to take away some extra global presence with that Thor ban there. Cuckoo, we've seen him come and go as of recent patches. So not shocked to see him end up in the second round of bans for sure. But the Thor ban, find that to be quite interesting though, because if I know anything, Flash plays one hell of a Thor.
Yeah, and maybe it's just like you said, don't want to give them any more global presence than they already have. It can be a lot to deal with. Like when it's just an Athena or just a Thor or a Chernobog or whatever, because there's so many global presence gods now. It's not the end, but when the team has two and they can really just outplay you on the map and you can't do anything about it, it can become a real problem. So I'm not surprised to say, nah, we don't want to deal with that. Instead, they do leave open this Hun Bats, which brings a good bit of another strong initiation into team fights that so far through the top three, I would have had to give the definite edge to Rootin' Tootin' Rodents. I mean, Jingchen, Sobek are just able to start fights whenever they want to, so it's very good for Shoguns to have an Athena and a Hunbat's, a Taunt and a Fear to be able to counteract that and get to them before they can get to you, because so far there's a lot of initiation on both sides. There's not a ton of peel, so this game might very well come down to whoever attacks first and can utilize their tools and just swing momentum in what I expect to be very quick engagements. I don't expect there to be long, drawn out engagements at all in this game.
No, these are going to be quite bursty and very fast paced fights, it looks like. And as I'm looking at the composition line out for the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents, the Giannis Neath final pick is adding some of that global presence. And Giannis is not the ideal mage when it comes to your normal play style, but what Giannis is very good at is sweeping in and out of a team fight very quickly, putting out a good amount of damage, and then disengaging just as quickly as he started that fight. Has that one shot potential out of his ultimate as well, so we will potentially see one of those snipes, just not from a Thoth. I have to say though, this Neath pick is very touch and go for me. It has the ability in the mid game and even in the early game to create some unique situations in other lanes, if not its own, and not her own lane. But once you get to that late game stage, not really sure what this Neath's going to be able to do.
Yeah, well, I expect, given the current setup, I expect this to be a Giannis jungle and a Neath mid lane. So definitely, I would expect her to go the full ability build and maybe to be a little more relevant. Like you said, she can, especially from mid lane, where she can get that ult anywhere she wants, pretty easily and relatively quickly. It still falls off a little bit late game. It just isn't the most useful in a team fight when you have to take so long to self root yourself and make sure you can blah 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 blah. But if you can start off a fight with the mannequin's hidden blade build and just obliterate someone's health bar, maybe that brings another way for them to start a fight and again potentially just get in there, do all the damage and let what happens happen.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And by the way, we're looking at this composition, and I didn't even think to say it, but this is going to be a Giannis jungle because I don't see on her and Neith going into the jungle here. There's just no way. This is going to be a Giannis jungle pick, which is interesting because mage jungles have been on the rise with these most recent buffs that they've been getting given to the magic items. And of all the characters I would expect to see from the mage tab in the jungle, Giannis might have been my fifth selection, and I'm pretty sure Alquang, Mammon, even Poseidon. Well, Poseidon got picked third, but there were a couple of other picks, Hebo even in the mage tab, that I think would have made a lot more sense. But I don't think this Giannis pick is a bad one. Like I already stated, he has the ability to slip in and out of team fights very easily, and you've got this double Guardian lineup as well that is gonna kind of facilitate that play style for this Giannis. So this is a very interesting pick for me, and I think a very interesting pick across the board that still, even in its interesting state, has the ability to be very viable.
Oh, absolutely. He just, yes, like maybe there might be some, quote unquote, better options, but it all depends on how he feels, and how he feels might not be relevant because we have action in the duo lane.
Ishtar falling very low, has the dash up though. Humbot's going to show up. Level 2. Athena getting plucked back towards her own tower though. Humbot's diving in, trying to find this kill on this level 2 on her. Don't know if the jump is available to the on her. He will be able to get out with that impale onto Gymkhana. Make sure he walks out with his own life. Very, very close to a first blood on both sides there, but no clear ability to finish a kill means that everybody walks out of that one not unscathed, but certainly still alive.
Yeah, good rotation timing there by Fatty Bacon to make sure that Jacob Frosty Cones didn't put an end to his duo lane early, because he hit every block he sent that game, or that encounter.
Yeah, sneaky little crocodile for the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents. So we'll keep a close eye on Frosty Cones here as the game goes on. I feel like he's going to be a very big part of this composition. A little bit of a scrap maybe for this buff, but not looking like the XP is going to go any other way. Shield buff basically already gone. Just kind of the way this lane goes. I love the aggression that we're seeing from the Sobek here, just zoning off both of them to let the on here clear the wave here. And we haven't really seen much other than that early action from these two, but I might have to be corrected here. Tailwhip may have actually been off the mark there. Good taunt though from Athena. Tailwhip may have saved Ishtar's life, but the taunt certainly confirmed the ability to go on in this lane. And this is what I was wanting to talk about, the solo lane. Dashiway having to make a way out of this lane. Looks like he'll be able to escape with his life as well. But this is a very interesting lane. Kuzumbo solo versus Jingqian solo. So 2 Guardians facing off over here. And it's not going to be interesting in the normal sense of the solo lane, where it's going to be 2 gods brawling against each other, trying to kill each other. It's going to be 2 gods trying to outlast the other in the competition for farm. Unfortunate that the purple buff gets picked up by the ADC, or not by the ADC there, but happy to take the XP away from the Shoguns. But back to my original point, this double Guardian lineup over here on the solo lane, what's your take on it? Are both these guys waiting for late game and maybe just kind of staring at each other throughout the laning phase, or we're going to see some action-packed solo lane like normal?
I imagine they're both mostly going to be playing towards late game. It looks like that's going to be a prophetic from Dashiway in the first slot, so he's definitely not, if you can take an early lead, and solo laners do love to be aggressive, so I think if a window presents itself as Sobek keeps presenting to on her here.
Presenting indeed, and Pacos will finally let loose the Desert Fury and get that first blood. ADC of the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents gonna go ahead and pick that one up. Great play from Frosty Cones really throughout the entirety of the laning phase there to just confirm that kill and finally get that first blood. He played the long game with it, and it certainly seemed to pay off there. It may pay off in double whenever this pluck comes out. No mana, but doesn't matter. Dies in the middle of the air. Krogerman falls second on her, 2-0, and it all happens in the last 30 seconds. Gonna look at the Fear No Evil onto on her, but only catches him on the rim. so he'll be able to walk out of that no problem. And it just continues to look worse and worse for the Gun Show Shoguns after every individual second.
Yeah, Jacob Frostycone's just hitting all the plucks, absolutely setting Puckles up nice and easy there. But also just a bit of a questionable decision there from Kroger, man. I understand wanting the scepter and everything, but you can't just walk up to the enemy when there's two of them and only one of you.
I mean, you absolutely can. It just doesn't seem like it pays off. And I gotta throw this one out there. Another point I need to make. I have not seen Flash leave the mid lane until just now. He is since the 0 second mark, spent his entire time roaming around the mid lane with his mid laner, Daddy Neptune, and farmed every side camp since the beginning. And look at what it's done for him. That's a 2-level lead on this Giannis. And he hasn't been involved in any other part of the map throughout the entirety of this 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I think that just the compositions of the game have allowed him to really do that. You know, like we said earlier, it's Guardian versus Guardian solo. That's not expected to be the most action-packed firework lane. You have an on her Sobek on your side in duo lane that is going to be aggressive and has proven to, get the better edge so far early in this game. So what does that leave you? It lets you patrol the mid farm with your mid laner and get all the camps, all the harpies, the chesters, the red buffs, the this, the that. And like you said, suddenly he's just farmed himself into a big lead where now these two people with the global alts on Rootin, Tootin, Rodents can potentially make an impact.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to be waiting for now. Level 7, possibly going to hit level 8 once he drops these 2 camps. I got to see the net worth chart for this one to see if it paid off in not only in XP but in gold. Whenever we get a chance to see that, as the dual lane also carrying that 2-level lead. Gold per minute, not really super high. Really want to see that net worth more than anything. We're getting there. You're doing a great job, by the way, Salty. I'm not hating. There it is. We got it. We are professionals here. And honestly, it's kind of surprising. He's down at the bottom of the net worth chart, just under the Hunbot. So it looks like the XP is all that's in favor of him there. But still, I mean, it's a Giannis. You want that XP lead. You're trying to hit 20 first. That's when you get that extra scaling. For anyone who doesn't know, a while back there was a patch where Giannis gets increased, just naturally increasing percent penetration on his ultimate, much like Serket gets critical damage, or not critical damage, critical chance.
Yep.
As time goes on, and he gets up to 20% at level 20. So definitely not hating some extra levels.
Definitely not. And Kuzenbo potentially hating where his positioning was, but is able to just use the ult and keep himself safe.
I don't know if
Guardian versus Guardian versus Guardian over here.
Yeah, there's 3 Guardians in the solo lane, and that I would normally be like, oh, this is a recipe for disaster. But to be honest, it's about as interesting as a wet napkin. But either way, it's just that's this lane in solo. That's what the solo lane is going to boil down to be honest. It's all about just a little bit of poke here, poke there, and you're really not trying to kill. You're just trying to out pressure your lane opponent with the small wins. I'm going to get Totem here. I'm going to get the minion wave first. I'm going to get my blue buff first. And with that, I'm going to come over there and I might steal your small, or I might push a wave under tower, and you're going to miss that farm. And realistically, both of these players should walk out of their lane at the same level and relatively the same goal, depending on who gets the blue buff farm over the other. And it's a very small, it's a very macro game from minute 1 type of lane over here. So I don't expect it to be interesting. If anything, if we see this lane get any action, it's going to be with plays like this where the junglers try to make something happen. But even then, do you really want to take that much time and put that much effort into killing something as tanky as a Guardian?
Exactly. It's just rough. Like the team compositions just naturally lead it to. It's just a bit of an arms race over here in solo lane. Like you said, they're playing for late game. They're just like, oh, yeah, we'll scuffle a bit now, and I'll try to get any advantage I can. But what they're really playing for is when it comes to these groupings, these 4v4s, these 5v5s around the objectives, where they can really instead of just kind of like ramming heads into each other, they can bump their chests around and bully the backline. That's what they want to do.
Ooh, an ultimate comes out from the Giannis and clips both of them. A double knockup as well. And Athena's going to be the one that catches the Neath ultimate. They're not turning on to her, though. They're trying. He on her tried to kill Ishtar instead, and that may have ended up costing him there. And no kills resulting for the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents, Cyberpunk Otters, as they're mostly known as. And it's a very such a feels bad. It started out so good, and it looks like just target allocation costs them in that one.
Yeah, just I don't know exactly how it all went down, with them, but they just split targets and someone focused on someone and people focused on someone else. And unfortunately, not only did they get away, but Fatty Bacon was able to come over and hit a big Fear No Evil and swing the momentum around and pick up a kill for the UwU Shoguns.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch that one more closely now. That's gonna change the whole lane up, as Kroger Man's gonna be able to get some farm, catch up a little bit, possibly even break even towards the midway of this game. We're finally seeing some pressure put on this Poseidon. Athena ult's gonna come out, and that's already some pressure gained for the entirety of the Rodents. No longer have to worry about that global presence. And I would like to see the Rodents try and make another gank attempt at some point just based off of that. And it looks like we're going to see it here from the Flash. Going to throw the Kuzumbo right back towards the tower. He's not going to end up inside it, but you don't need too much help from Flash there, because Dashue's got the rest of the damage under control. So finally, the solo lane swings in a certain direction. Humbots has shown up to try and steal away the blue buff, but it's a 2v1 situation for him.
Yeah, and it's never just what you see when there's global ults on the map.
Yeah, almost turned into something, but Sobek barely off the mark there. Frosty Cones could not connect the pluck, so everyone else walks out of that situation just fine. And actually, what a pluck there on the Poseidon, but not gonna be able to get any more damage than after the 3. Giannis ult's gonna come through and just doesn't connect. So still no resulting kill, and maybe an opportunity to take this kill onto the Sobek, but ends up just doing some damage with that Fear No Evil. He'll be able to make his return, but more importantly, Neptune just continues to farm this mid lane. Oh, a nice pluck onto the Hunbot again. He's just hitting these like crazy, and now they're going to try and take down this Athena. Frosty Cone's falling very low. He'll still stick around because it's only the Athena there to do damage, and it looks like the Cyberpunk Otters will be able to collect this first beacon.
Yeah, and I don't know if crocodiles are necessarily pack hunters, but Jacob Frosty Cones is using that Sobek pluck to just feed these UwU Shoguns to the wolves right now. They're lucky to be getting out of some of the situations they have, and they haven't gotten out of many as he's just thrown them backwards.
Yeah. Normally the point of conversation when it comes to a Sobek pick is, can you hit plucks? And then the second question is, are we getting relics off of that? And if Jacob Frosty Cones is going to be the guy to get relics off of every individual member of the Shoguns just by hitting plucks, it's going to make Dashue's job easier. It's going to make Pockle's job easier, because they have a lot of CC on their own backline. All it takes is a 2-1 combo from Pockles, and likely somebody's dead if they don't have beads. And I mean, I would really be kind of worried if I'm the Shoguns right now with the performance that Frosty Cones is having, or Jacob Frosthope is having right now.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things when a Sobek is playing this aggressive and playing that well, it's a big worry. It is a legitimate thing that the Shoguns are going to have to be like, okay, how are we going to deal with this? Like, they need an answer, and they're going to need to find one quick, because they cannot just let a Sobek just run at them and pluck them into the backline all the time, as On Her stands his ground.
Stays in place, knows he's got the damage, and now he's going to look at this Athena here as well. Going to get stunned out by the Ishtar. Will be able to jump away, though, once that stun gets off of him. Athena still in trouble here, as the Sobek will finally finish him off with the pluck. Here comes the Giannis to try and clean up the Ishtar. Has the movement speed up. Sobek probably waiting on that CC. Beads comes out, so a pluck will connect and will throw him back. Very good damage off that 2. Doesn't kill, but an auto attack after will finish the job. And it's another fantastic engagement and more fantastic play from the support here to get this kill. And like I said, this is an MVP performance already in game 1 from Jacob Frostsoap. If he keeps this up, you normally don't get the flashy games out of the support. But this is a pick where you can absolutely have the flashy game on it. And this is the game that Jacob Frostsoap is having on it right now.
Absolutely. He's just playing extremely well. And also big credit to Pockles there, who timed the Desert Fury just right, just as the Fear No Evil drops, so that he gets the CC immunity for the first half and gets to deal damage to Fatty Bacon, and manages to get the kill onto him with that ult, so that, yeah, he's feared when that wears off, but now there's no more damage. There's no more threat for a couple seconds, and he's able to survive, keep his head, keep his relics, and get out of there.
Yeah, that's the most important part, is keeping his relics, especially in a Humbot ult situation. Very good job from Pockles, and just very clean play overall from him as well, to be patient and just play that out. And we're about 15 minutes in. We're finally hitting that mid-game portion. ADC's getting pretty close in level. Ishtar's going to come out, not going to connect. Onher's going to walk forward and only take the damage. Doesn't get the shield buff, and going to turn his attention to the Ishtar now. Not going to be able to finish this one up, though. We'll have to let it go. Very close engagement, but that ultimate being down for the Ishtar could be a disaster in any moment here.
Yeah, it's just such a useful tool to have in your arsenal. You don't want to put it on cooldown just for, the shield buff this late into the game, leaves himself susceptible to a potential gank, and with there being a
ultimate's gonna come out
and everything.
Heal. Yeah. That's a good damage. He's going to come through the wall, but only connects onto the Ishtar. Misses out on the Hunbots. Now he's the one falling low. Flash needs to find a way out of here. Good body blocks from the Sobek, and Pockles will come in and clean up Fatty Bacon. Now he's going to try and take down this Ishtar, but another good set of body blocks from the Athena is going to make it very difficult for him to finish this kill, and a taunt after the jump is going to confirm her life. If he doesn't dash in and lose it, actually, Beads is going to come out just to make sure he doesn't get thrown up into the air by a Kraken off of that Riptide Whirlpool. I mean, Riptide's a different ability, y'all. And a very clean engagement from the Cyberpunk Otters. That name is going to confuse me. I have to read. But a very clean engagement from the Cyberpunk Otters gets that one done.
Yeah, they're able to get in, get the kill onto Fatty Bacon, and then, it got a little hairy. It's not like they just got out super clean. The Flash did have to fear for his life a little bit there. But, they still got out. They still managed to keep swinging the momentum more and more in their favor, as we just saw with the golden XP charts. It's a score of 7-1 here, 17 minutes in. They're capturing the second beacon of the game. I mean, they've done a fantastic job through the first chunk of this game to set themselves up in a position to have every advantage here, and we just got to see if they can keep doing that, as Jacob Frosty-Cone says he's going to keep doing it.
I don't think I've seen him miss more than one pluck. I think he's missed a single pluck throughout the entirety of this game, at least on screen. And I mean, if he keeps that up, dude, I don't think this is going to look good for the Shoguns, man. Pluck in on the Sobek and an attempted steal, but the Rodents still get the confirm onto the objective. But now Jacob Frosty-Cones is going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Uses the Horrific to peel himself out. Jing Qian is going to show up here to try and find this kill on this Hunbots, but beads is all he's going to be able to get. Doesn't have his ultimate up either to capitalize on those beads being down. Kuzenbo is also going to do a little bit of zoning work on his own and only succeed in using that ult for damage. But still a great confirm from the Cyberpunk Otters on that play.
Yeah, and good attempt there by Shoguns, unfortunately.
I cursed him.
Just a little bit off the mark, and yep, that's the risk you run with Sobek, is if you go in and you don't hit the pluck, and admittedly, even in this particular case, even if he does hit the pluck, now you're just kind of standing in front of the enemy, and, Ishtar still had ult, evidently, which spelled the end for Jacob Frosty-Cones there.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, guys. I take full responsibility for that one. I cast or cursed that man. I said he hadn't missed a pluck, and then he finally missed one, second one on screen. Yeah, I take full. I am legally responsible for what everyone witnessed there. Yeah, my fault. My bad, Jacob. Sorry about that, dude. Uh,
It's okay. It might be one of those situations where it's ultimately for the best because as amazing as Jacob Frosty Cones has played, and as I expect him to continue playing, sometimes with Sobek, yes, they just see blind aggression. They just pin their ears back and pluck everything, and you just want them to think just a little bit. Maybe this will, you know, just give him
Ooh,
that momentary beforehand.
that right there is going to be something else that we're going to see these guys worry about. That Giannis ult just clipping did a quarter of Ishtar's health, and that's not even a full build Giannis yet. That's the scary part. That's just going to hit harder and harder as time goes
Mhm.
on. And we're thinking about objective secures. Poseidon is known to be a very strong objective secure god. Kraken is one of the hardest abilities to secure over in a 50-50. But you've got Giannis sniping from downrange. Could be a very interesting 50-50 once that time comes. And since we're at the 20-minute mark, we've only seen one Gold Fury and one Pyromancer go down. Bede's going to come out for the Ishtar. Going to use the ultimate now as well to try and stop that pluck. And no damage on the second side means no stun. And Pacos will find another kill on the Kroger man. And just as I talked about the Gold Fury, it seems I may have spoke the objective call into existence here. Traded those, so Vision goes no particular direction on the Gold Fury pit, but the Rodents are the one that started up. Cyberpunk Otter is going to look for a steal here over the Whirlpool. Kraken's going to come out at any moment. It will come through, and it will be a stolen objective this time, as well as a Hunbot's ult to possibly help with that steal. But the Athena's being looked at now. Portal's going to lock her in place, and Neptune will find that one. Kuzumbo showed up, and a nice tail whip will stop that dash from connecting onto anybody. And Jing Qian's going to try and find some of his own damage back onto the solo laner. Good poke also from the jungle, but that engagement being over, a two for nothing trade doesn't really go in the way of the Shoguns if you're going to lose members like that.
Yeah, they do pick up the Gold Fury, and that certainly helps. But losing the fight afterwards, either balances it out, or if anything, does return it slightly to a Rodents win there. But I respect them grouping up, saying we're not just gonna give this up. We're not just gonna let you have this. We're gonna be here and not go down without a fight.
Yeah, we have the tools, and you better expect us to use them. And that's kind of what I think they were saying there in that situation, letting everyone on the map know, including themselves, that they are prepared to take an engagement, even at a 3K, possibly even 4K deficit. And that's respectable, especially in the situation that the Shoguns are in, because they don't necessarily have a bad late game. Neither team really has a bad late game, in my opinion. Obviously, Neath is its own point of contention, but you look at Giannis, you look at the Guardian selection for the Cyberpunk Otters. It's a pretty good late game from them, but arguably, I think Shoguns may have a better late game.
I would agree, just because I think the Shogun's execution of their late game plan is just a little more simple.
Yeah.
But Rodents have played extremely well and have shown themselves very capable of executing their plan. So, this we're talking like razor's edge difference here in terms of who's actually better on paper, as we see some fantastic play again there out of Pockles to get out of a sketchy situation.
A little bit of damage going through. The Giannis ult doesn't connect onto the Poseidon and gets knocked away, so no damage off of the 2 from the Giannis as well. Ultimate does come out, connects onto nothing, though. And a double portal and a very clean hit, but no kill for the Giannis. God, that's going to hurt for a while until he gets that 4th item online, because that's exactly what he's waiting on. Might be able to find the Hunbot's good jump over the damage, though. And Portal doesn't connect. Hunbots might get thrown back here, does have the beads available, so that relic being down is at least helpful in the future. Ishtar ult's going to come out. I'm not sure if it connected on anyone other than Jing Qian there, but it doesn't matter, because Anher is going to take a ton of damage from those auto attacks. And there's the last one needed to take him down from Krogerman. ADC's not happy with how that lane has gone, and he's just trying to find more if he can, but it looks like the Otters are going to be able to completely disengage off of this team fight.
Yeah, and Krogerman just hits every single long range auto for as
God, he
long
did.
as he absolutely could. He was not going to get another long range auto. That was for sure the last one, and he's able to get that damage onto Pockles. And like I said, way back in Picks and Bans when we were talking about Thoth, it's frustrating when the enemy can hit you from further away than you can hit them. And Pockles, unfortunately, oh,
Oh, does
just
not
off the
connect
mark
the ult.
there.
It's a very close attempt as well. That ultimate being down means that there's something to play around with for the gun show Shoguns now. And with almost every
Krogerman.
ult on the map up for the Shoguns,
Krogerman saw his life flash before his eyes with how close that through space and time was to connecting with him.
I saw his life flash before my eyes.
Luckily,
So-
though, he still lives and breathes here, as looks like teams are potentially gathering around this Gold Fury again.
We might see another Gold Fury attempt here. Might is the wrong word. They are pulling it. And it looks like Shoguns are going to be able to collect this one no problem. But it
But
doesn't
look,
seem like they're unaware.
Rodents are going to the Fire Giant.
Yeah, they realized where they were at, took advantage of the situation, and now they will pull the Fire Giant. And I don't think the Shoguns have any idea what's going on right now. If they do, they're only just now making that rotation, and it's too little too late. It's a confirm. They even dropped the bomb there just to make sure that that objective goes their way. And they definitely were unaware. And now Krogerman, with this positioning, he's got to make a way out of here. He's going to use his ultimate to CC immune. The ultimate from the Neath. Beads comes out to stop him from getting thrown back. So both forms of CC immunity are down. Ultimate from the Athena is going to come out. The Defender of Olympus is going to at least keep him alive even longer. Jing Qian taking quite a bit of damage there. And the ultimate comes through and still does not connect onto Krogerman. It's a very close one once again. And this Giannis ult just hits one time. And it's gonna be a dead somebody.
That's the thing about Giannis ult is, they don't connect very often, but at least once a game, it's gonna hit someone, and it's just gonna completely change the outcome of that team fight because someone's gonna get obliterated. It hasn't happened yet, but the Flash is so close, and he's gonna connect at some point. And especially now with a Fire Giant on all 5 Rodents. These are the rootinest, tootinest Rodents in the wild, wild west, and they're eager to prove that here as they march down and take this tower.
Yeah, definitely playing around as if they know what's at stake here, and they're not taking any chances. Good objective play once again, taking down 2 tier 2 towers off of the Shoguns. And I gotta point it out, like you just said, man, Flash is playing it like an actual artillery piece. Uses the ult, doesn't connect, makes a calibration, keeps doing that over and over. He's sure to hit one of these at some point, and I think when he does finally hit one, it's going to be a dead somebody. Actually, no, maybe not because of what they did to that ultimate. Bring that back, Hi-Rez. Don't bring that back. Anyways, either way, start a team fight. Giannis hits that from long range. Somebody's dead. I can promise you that.
Absolutely, and it's just one of those things that he brings to the table that, makes the Giannis character unique, and it's also what makes it fun when you play it and execute it well, and potentially frustrating to deal with is he's just able to, hit you from literally across the map if necessary and get through these walls and travel his team around. And Rootin' Tootin' Rodents have played around it very well, especially with that Neath ult also in pocket. Does half a health bar, and he's still not quite full build.
Yep, very low health backliners.
Everyone in the washing machine.
Back. 4 members knocked up and rooted. Athena very low. Humbots finally gets the Fear No Evil off, but it's only to his detriment as Daddy Neptune gets the kill on a Fatty Bacon. 3 members dead. Dashaway cleans up the support. Poseidon's the only member left alive here, and they won't chase him down. They're going to stop the chase, take down this left side T2 and this left side Phoenix. A fantastic play from the solo laner of the Rootin' Tootin' of the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents. And it's even an end game call here as 4 members dead for 20 seconds or more. It's going to be a very interesting end call in the way that it's already going to be over 28 minutes, 29 almost, and Cyberpunk Otters do it in stellar fashion.
Yeah, Dashiway with a hero play right there and just hits everybody with the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, puts them all in the spin cycle and throws them back, and the fight was just decided literally right then and there. That fight was over, and so was the game. Just slams the casket shut, pulls out the hammer himself, and drives down every nail into the coffin.
A fantastic job from the Cyberpunk Otters. And I mean, Gunshow didn't necessarily play that terribly. It was just a really strong team fight that kind of ends that game for them. But all said and done here in game one, and Cyberpunk Otters definitely feeling pretty good about this, reducing their chances in this first game of potentially going down to the gauntlet and confirming themselves in a better position so far. But they still have one more game to win in order to confirm that slot. And it's really up to the Gunshow Shoguns now to try and confirm themselves out of the gauntlet. And we'll see if they're going to be able to keep themselves away from disaster right after this break.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back here to the Frank's Retirement Home, bringing you some Canes action between the UwU Shoguns and the Rootin Tootin Rodents. Game 2 here as the Rodents took game 1. I am Deacon. I'm joined by Freaky G and Salty on the Spectator. Freaky, we had a nice fun game 1 there as the Rodents kind of took control of that game from the jump and never let it go. How
Yeah,
are
they
you how do you want the Shoguns to respond here?
first things first, I think we need to make our adjustments in the jungle. Not because the honest pick was good, but because it just didn't seem like the Hunbots was working out for the Shoguns. And this first pick selection from them is also a pretty good idea. They get their pick of the litter at the very beginning. Second pick does feel pretty good right now in terms of god selection because there's just so many gods right now that are so strong. But sometimes getting that first pick and confirming your best overall selection is honestly a little bit better in some cases than trying to get the next best two or maybe even two completely different picks off the back of it. So maybe this is going to be enough for the Shoguns here. And I think getting rid of this Jing Qian is also just a fantastic decision from the Shoguns.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said, at the current moment, the balance between first pick and second pick feels pretty darn equal. Like it's just kind of up to personal preference on where you feel is better just because of, there's a lot of ways that this early picks and bans phase can go to play out and you can potentially gain your advantage. And yeah, so far, Uwu Shoguns in that first pick slot have decided to take away the Hachiman, the Jingchen, as you already mentioned, and the Athena. Rootin' Tootin' Rodents, on the other hand, have taken the Odin and Cthulhu out of the game. So lots of frontline bans here so far.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a pretty common trend right now. That the with the changes to certain items and with Guardians just being way stronger at the moment, and I mean Odin especially on that table with the changes to the it's escaping me bobble. I'm not
Mhm.
surprised to see so many frontliners go away here.
Yeah, they just bring so much to the table, especially, like you said, with a bubble. If people want to do that, your cooldowns are so short, and things like an Odin cage is up every time you blink that you're guaranteed to get value out of it. You can just throw them out there. You don't have to get the perfect Odin cage. You can just get an Odin cage and get value out of it because 48 seconds from now, you can do it again, and teams aren't going to be able to deal with it every time. So definitely
Yeah.
not surprised to see these bans roll out so far.
Well, after a very long and thoughtful process from the Shoguns, they finally locked their top overall pick in. And Deacon, I'm gonna keep it square with you. I'm gonna keep it 100, man. Thanatos' top pick was not what I was expecting, and I'm not sure it was the top pick I was looking for.
I would agree with you. Not necessarily what I would have expected. Not because the pick's not good. The pick's fantastic. Thanatos has
Hmm.
been running rampant, but it's more so it just didn't. Neither jungle seemed to be a very big point of preference for either of these teams in game one, and I can't quite remember if the Thanatos was banned away early, but I honestly don't know if he was even looked at in game one. So he brings a lot to the table and can really run the early game and get that momentum on your team's side, and the execute's always going to be useful. So I'm not surprised to see him. It's just Fatty Bacon has decided to, like you said, get away from the Hunbats and say, "This is what I want to do."
Yeah, and maybe it's the adjustment necessary. We'll see if it pays off for him later on. And it's really kind of like now you have the ability to pick into a Thanatos at the top pick selection at least. But sometimes it's a little easier said than done, and there's not a lot of great picks into Thanatos. But what I do like seeing right now is how the Cyberpunk Otters draft this Sobek again. We were singing Jacob Frostsoap's praises in the early and mid game. Late game wasn't as much from him, but for good reason. He's still playing support, and at the end of the day, he has a backline to protect. But that's still fine because he played this pick so well. I'm actually really surprised that the Shoguns chose to ban away the Athena rather than the Sobek here now that it's coming back. This is a bit of a this is not even a bit. This is actually a major oversight from the Shoguns here.
I would tend to agree with you, especially since the Shoguns were themselves the one who picked Athena last game. It's just you can't let Jacob Frosty Cones do that to you again. And yeah, he played that Sobek darn near perfectly. I mean, he was aggressive and hitting every pluck in the early game and setting up his team. And then once they grouped up as 5, he played back a little bit more and wasn't the sole initiation and going in every time. He let Dashiway do that to great effect, and then he was there to provide some help for his backline or to, after the initial fights were down and relics were down, potentially just come in and really set up the cleanup kills. So
Yeah, I just don't see how you let him have this again. It just seems absurd to me. I think the Shoguns have made a major mistake in their pick draft phase here. It's I'm just shocked. If I was playing against Jacob Frostsoap in that game, I would not be okay with letting him have it again. I really wouldn't. But Shoguns have their plan here, and they chose their mid ADC in their second and third slot. Heimdall going to get picked up by the Cyberpunk Otters. Very different duo lane for us here, it looks like.
yeah, Rootin' Tootin' Rodents have had a very interesting first half of this draft with what is double ADC and a Sobek. Now that Uller is, as I would guess right now, presumably going into the mid lane, could maybe go into jungle or solo, but I would prefer and assume it's a mid lane. But what's really interesting about that is I think, Uller hasn't been looked at much at all lately. I think you could have potentially waited on that and gotten some good value, like maybe this Merlin. I mean, I guess if you want to go the Uller mid, you don't want the Merlin, but you could have got one of these banned away gods like a Ganesh or something. I don't know. It's just a very interesting draft so far from
I,
the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents. I'm going to talk about the Shoguns instead because it's a little simpler. X-Ball, Merlin, Thanatos, it's nice and aggressive. It provides a lot of team fight presence and shred on objectives. That seems that Shoguns have, said this is what we want to do with our draft so far. We want to be aggressive, maybe get a pick, and then get some objectives.
So a little insider knowledge, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, I know Flash fairly well. Uller is a fan favorite pick of him. So maybe a little bit of mind games being played with this double ADC lock-in, saying, hey, go ahead and ban some mages if you want. We know what we're looking for. Who knows? This could be a very strong flex from them with this top pick, Uller. Clearly not going into ADC, but if you know Flash, he'll play this pick in the jungle just like he played the Giannis. And I think it's a fine selection too with the mind games that you can play with it. But either way, it's not the point of topic anymore. What I really want to talk about is the Fafnir pick, which means that this Sobek is likely going to the solo lane. We don't see Fafnir solo very often, so I'm not hedging any bets on it.
No, and very interesting choice by the Rodents to get the Sobek again, but take it out of Jacob Frostycone's hands and pivot to an entirely different playstyle out of the presumed Fafnir support. And I mean entirely different. You could not be further apart on the support spectrum than Sobek and Fafnir.
Very different ways of playing the game for sure. Going to see a lot less of those hard pluck engages, but Shoguns pick up a double, well, not a double, pick up an interesting front line of their own with the Jormungandr Nox combination here. Jormungandr most likely going to solo. So that means that the Shoguns are going to take their chances with a mage support, which is very interesting, mind you, because we haven't seen very many mage supports. I think there's only one other person right now that's been playing a lot of mage supports, and it's up in the higher end of the bracket. I believe it's the Odin's Headhunters. The support for the Odin's Headhunters has been playing Afro support, but Nox support, we haven't seen this in a long time.
Yeah, and there was that time for a little bit last year where the mage supports really ran everything, and they've come down a little bit since then, but they still provide a lot of the value they did. They're still good at what they do. And what Nox does is be annoying. That's all she does, and she does it so well. She just throws out the silence and the root and is like, ha ha ha, you can't press your buttons, and there's nothing more frustrating in the game than not being able to press your buttons.
Yeah, it's a very tough situation to be in. That silence lasts so long. If you get rooted inside it, gonna make things even more difficult. And the Cyberpunk Otters surprising me one more time with their final
Mhm.
pick here and the Freya lock-in. So this is a very interesting thing that they're doing here because you're really not sure what's going where until the picks get selected onto the player. Is this an Uller jungle? Is this an Uller carry? Is it an Uller mid? Heim could go jungle, or very unlikely, but he could. He could actually go in the mid lane, could bring some pressure against a Merlin. I like the Rodents composition, but at the same time, you're playing a very risky composition right now as well.
Yeah, and I think the Rodents composition was picked primarily with the end goal in mind of we have 2 Guardians and 3 Hunters, and at the 30-35 minute mark, you shred everything. You shred enemy tanks, you shred enemy backline, you shred objectives, you shred towers and phoenixes and and I think that might be what they're going for. And if that's the case, if they get there, yeah, they have the edge. They have the stronger late game team comp in this one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But Shoguns just have a much simpler execution of what they want to do, and they can reach their maximum effectiveness quite a bit sooner than the Rodents can, in my opinion.
It's a very different dynamic in team fight. It's a different dynamic in laning phase. And the Shoguns definitely did not go for a traditional composition either. Don't get me wrong, but they still lean towards a much closer style of traditional composition. Nox is still a very good support if played well. And early game's already looking pretty rough. Freya getting caught out by the Thanatos.
Yeah.
This is a 1v1 that
It's
he can
a
absolutely win.
Yeah, the
Fatty Bacon will
flash
pick
on the
someone up.
Freya jungle unfortunately gets caught up, and Fatty Bacon takes advantage there and does what Thanatos does and presses the early game advantage. And we have action over here in the solo lane as Jormungandr's bullying Sobek, which of course he is. He's Jormungandr, and that's a Sobek. You definitely don't pick Sobek for the early game clear.
Oh.
Shogun's playing very well and very aggressive here in the early game. More action here in the mid lane as Thanatos a little too far forward, but hits the scythe, gets some HP back, and gets him a little bit of safety, and then gets on out of there. So far,
Keep swinging.
lots of action so far. Very aggressive in the first 2 minutes of this game.
A very different early game look, especially with that Freya going down at like minute 1. This is going to be rough, and it's
Thanatos
continuing.
blinked in. He just wants to. He sees someone and he just wants to go in. Unfortunately, not able to get the kill there, but the aggression buys them the space to get this right Harpies and press this lead that they've generated so far.
Yeah, it's
Action
going to be
over here in duo lane.
Oh my goodness, they just keep fighting.
They don't want you to talk as they jump on X-Ball, gets the stun. He's trying to run away and is returning some damage, but gets caught out. Little bit of an odd positioning choice there as he is able to get away with the skin of his teeth. It made me sweat there, so I can only imagine how he's walking back up.
Oh my goodness. Don't do it. Don't do it, Kroger man. I don't know. Don't do it, Kroger man. No. Oh, good job on the CC. Never mind.
He knows what he's doing. He says, hey, he already heard us, even though this game is, he hears us somehow, and he's like, guys, don't worry, I've got this. I've got potions taken. I got this.
Yeah, either way, still very close. Kroger man definitely getting away by the skin of his teeth, maybe feeling himself a little bit too, getting away so closely. But he's fine with it. He just walks away. And say, all right, well, let's go farm our buffs. So I'm still alive. And it's a little bit of a misplay off the Rodents there. It doesn't get the body block clean there. Talking about Jacob. And Uller, I think, maybe missed an ability there somewhere. And early game Uller is going to do damage. That's actually one of his strong points is in his early game. Late game, he's still going to be very strong with the ability-based build, going to be able to do quite a bit of burst. But that's the kind of the issue with an Uller is your early game is kind of your big strong point. You don't want to wait till late game.
Oh, scythe just off the mark, but Thanatos goes up into the ult. Great timing by Fafnir for the immunity. Oh, Fatty Bacon. He just gets too aggressive and goes in there, but great plays out of the Rodents to turn that one around as they survive the tower dive. And Ben Dizzle gets out with a fraction of a health bar.
Very, very low. Ooh, action in the mid.
Great whoop by Freya, but Dr. Shrew's has his finger on the teleport and gets him out of there the second his feet hit the ground before any damage can come his way. Action in all 3 lanes over here across the map, Freaky. And, Shoguns have gained a slight lead, almost 1,000 here 5 minutes in. Who do you think's got the edge so far?
It's still looking like Shoguns just based on gold right now, but even with that, there's a little bit more to it. Fatty Bacon's now down a level even after getting that first blood so early, but now he's getting caught out.
Oh, gets sent through the realms by Heimdall, and there's 3 people surrounding him when he lands. He's not getting anywhere. The Flash picks up a kill and has now swung the momentum back in favor of the Rootin, Tootin Rodents as he is hunting for any farm he can strip from this side of the jungle.
I said in the picks and bans, I did not like this selection, especially as it being a top pick selection as well. And as the picks kept going through, Thanatos looked more and more viable, but it doesn't seem like it's still the best pick. Freya's going to make this rotation to the right, though, and try and clean this up.
Yeah, Ben Dizzle desperately trying to juke and make any way and waiting for his ult to come down. I know he's mashing it as it potentially comes off cooldown, but it does not get there in time. Dashiway picks up the kill as the Flash involved again was able to go straight over to solo lane and set up his solo laner to get a kill, and now they're advancing on the Shogun's blue buff. Looks like they are able to confirm that for themselves as the Nox comes over, makes the rotation, and presumably no more action here. It's just a little support on support violence, but that's not going to get anywhere any time fast.
When will it end? When will the supports stop hating each other? It's not that serious, guys.
Okay.
No, but a great
copyright struck.
But no, seriously, that's gank was just well played out by the Cyberpunk Otters there, man. They just knew that the timer on the ultimate was still down. Freya comes over, has the burn, only has a tier 2 ring, but that's attack speed for her. And once the 3 was down cooldown, this ability right here, it was kind of all said and done for him. He didn't really have an opportunity to fight back at all, and he just kind of had to take it. That was really his only option.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, just didn't have the health bar to last long enough for the ult to come off cooldown. And now, again, still it's like 600 gold for the UwU Shoguns as they have the lead. But I mean, they've still managed to hold the lead as the Rodents have fought back and gotten the kill lead here. So Rodents, that end game goal, it still looms large, but Shoguns have to be able to get themselves back on the same page. So we see little action over here in solo lane and jungle on jungle. That's a 1v1 that favors Fatty Bacon at the moment, I would assume, as he goes up into the hovering death, but he's going to take it away. Maybe I was wrong again. He comes back in, gets the beads and ultimate out of Fatty Bacon, but Fatty Bacon out of the Flash is damaging Fatty Bacon, I apologize. Able to get the kill there with Valkyrie's discretion, and great play there from the Flash to turn that around onto Fatty Bacon, and Fatty Bacon made the fool out of me, but Krogerman makes the fool out of Pockles in the 1v1. Nox came over at the end, but doesn't count. That's a 1v1. The Flash is coming over for a cleanup kill, though, misses the whoop and rooted in place. X-ball low. Krogerman, I don't know he's poking around the tower. He's gonna fall back. He's just gonna play it safe. Can't blame him with the Flash lurking around.
No, and that's one thing I got to point out. For one, I have no idea why Fatty Bacon was in that position he was in the first place. No reason for him to be in the enemy jungle when he's already down a level. You don't want to accidentally run into the Flash right now. He has a ring and a half and is up a level on you at that point. Now 2 levels, or a level and a half at least. I think Fatty Bacon may be a little bit on tilt here. I think he might be in his own head. Needs to calm down a little bit and just try to make, the smaller play, take the small wins, if you will. Just, don't steal farm, confirm farm. That's a small win. And then you transition over to the left lane. Nox, I think, just had an inkling of where the Flash was going to go next. So just good job on him to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and still over there hassling Pockles some more as he's just, throwing out bubbles and rooting him in place. And as now Gold Lead has continued, it's shrunken a little bit. It gained up to about 800. It's come down to about 500 now as we see a skirmish in mid lane, but Dr. Shrew holding his ground. He's a Merlin. He's able to clear wave pretty safely from a distance. He doesn't care that there's 3 rodents around him to bother him. So, I want to know what Shoguns have to do here to really get the momentum swinging in their favor, and it's certainly not getting whooped by a Freya with 3 people around, and the flash goes up into the Valkyrie's discretion and gets the kill. Fatty Bacon hovering death, but it's only hovering. There is no death on the other side. Rootin Rodents pick up the kill and get out as we see more continued action, but it's just a little support on support. Yeah, Rodents get the nice win there. Freaky. Break it down.
I mean, it's pretty simple. Merlin's not really pushed up, but he's only got a short range dash. They realize that, and it's really Frosty Cones that kind of starts it all off. Jumps right in there, gets that stun, makes him burn the relic, and after that, it's kind of all she wrote. Just going to walk up and, land that whoop. That's all he can really do. Valkyrie discussion, easy to chase down somebody in that. Not really anything that Dr. Shrew can do in that situation. And I know he was feeling the frustrations of, well, what am I supposed to do in this situation? Because that's the real answer. There was just nothing he could have done.
Yeah, and it's just such a helpless feeling when you get whooped and you don't have beads. It's just you just know what's on the other end of it, and like you said, there's nothing you can do. Krogerman looks to do something, but unfortunately, Rodent's trying to outwit him as they force the beads out of the X-Ball. He does dash away and is able to get back to tower safely, but that's a big relic to be on cooldown. Speaking of on cooldown, Ben Dizzle goes into the ult, Fatty Bacon goes into the ult as they're looking at this Sobek potentially. Big damage there out of Fatty Bacon.
It's just not going to be enough. He needs a little bit of help on that situation. If he doesn't have execute, he's just not going to get a kill on any of these primary targets if they're not already at half or not in. If they're low and not in execute range, it may just go very differently. But he's just not able to find any success right now. Fatty Bacon has made some good plays, but in the end, he's not getting relics. He's not getting enough farm. He's trying to match the rotation of the Freya, who has a level and a half, maybe 2 level lead on him. Fatty Bacon just needs to farm, and the best situation for Fatty Bacon right now is don't be where the Freya is. If you see him in right, tell your solo laner good luck and go steal farm in the left. Go try and find anything that's up over there. Take the farm away from Freya so that after she gets that kill, there's nothing left for him to take. But instead, he's trying to match these rotations, and it's just ending up a net 0. Meanwhile, Flash on Freya is getting more value out of his rotations because even if it's not resulting in a kill, he's burning relics. Frosty Cone, same with him. He's burning relics. He may not be on Sobek right now, but he's hitting these hammers with feeling, and he's getting these relics every single time.
Yeah, and speaking of getting relics, gets the beads there out of Dr. Shrew, and now that's another backliner in a vulnerable position as the flash comes from behind, and this is going to be a disaster for the Shoguns. Oh, Dr. Shrew falls to the flash, and as this beacon is going to be taken by the Rodents, and for good measure throws a hammer at the Fatty Bacon, just for funs and giggles, apparently. Yeah, great play there by the Rodents.
I like what the Flash did there, by the way. I got to say that was a pretty interesting way of using it. He didn't blink in for an aggressive attack. He blinks past the rock formation right there around Beacon, so he can just get a little bit of distance covered more quickly, and then comes behind and gets all of that free damage slipped right past the support, who honestly seemed like Gymkhana just seemed like he didn't have any idea that the Flash was in that position. So he just keeps making it interesting, and if the Flash keeps playing this way, he's going to be very difficult to shut down, but there may be a moment right here, right now.
Yeah, and going to be interesting to see how this one shakes out, as now they've switched targets from the Freya onto the Ullr, but Freya now pumping out damage into this Nox, gets silenced, beads forced out. Darkest of Nights, Valkyrie's discretion. Everyone's pressing their ultimates as Thanatos goes up. Is he going to come down on them? No, he's going to come down on the purple buff.
He's going to try and steal this one away if he can. Might be able to. He will be able to get that steal at least. Oh, and
Yeah,
it's still
lots of
going.
ultimate exchange there, but yeah, it's still going as these ADCs are dueling with each other. It's a 1v1 in the duo lane as these teams are grouped up. Thanatos caught out of position, unfortunately, and Pockles wins the 1v1 in duo lane.
Oh,
Big swing there for Rootin, Tootin, Rodents, and it looks like they're going to gather up around this and pull this Gold Fury as well.
yeah, Cyberpunk otters are just in a commanding position right now, up into the air. So they're going to use that Fafnir ultimate to just burn this Gold Fury down a little quicker. And there's the lead. There's what we're looking for. The Rodents are just slowly churning a lead. It's only 100 in their favor, but it's just going to get worse and worse as time goes on. And the main lead is in the jungle. It's the Flash 4-1-2. He finally dies. Looks like, or no, it finally dies. He died early on, and since then has not fallen again. If this trend continues, this is going to be a pretty easy 2-0 for the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents over here.
Yeah, potentially. Can we see the XP graph real quick, Salty, if you would be so kind? Not quite as big a discrepancy there as I expected to see.
It's all on Flash.
Yeah, but I mean, good job out of the UwU Shoguns that even as, the kills have continued to fall for in Rodent's favor, they haven't fallen too far out of the game. This is not a lead that they can't fight back into by any stretch of the mean, as we see Heimdall send him through the realms, and they're waiting on the other side again. But, a little bit of miscommunication, but where's he going? He's going into the enemy's speed buff, and the Flash says no more of that, puts an end to Fatty Bacon's short-lived attempt at freedom. And then gets the blink pluck with Dashy Way. He picks up where Jacob Frosty Cones left off and says, I'm just going to hit plucks. But Dr. Shrew able to teleport himself out of danger as we see Rootin' Rodents group up around this Pyromancer now.
Yeah, I think the miscommunication there, by the way, was just that they weren't expecting that tower to go down as quickly as it did. Maybe expecting him to take a tower shot, talking about Fatty Bacon. But they still end up taking him down. It just takes 2 ults instead of 1. A little unfortunate, but you're still happy he's dead. Pyromancer did get looked at, but is not taken. And a turnaround from the Kroger man, finally getting his 1v1 re-vengeance.
Absolutely. Great play there out of Kroger Man as he's able to pick up some momentum and swing it back in the Shogun's favor. And I know it was just a moment ago we talked about this, but they've swung the gold lead back in their favor about 1,200 or so now. I mean, they've just done a very good job farming.
I don't know how they're doing it. That's got to be what it is. I think 90% of any of that gold deficit on the Rodents is being covered by Flash right now. He's not the highest level in the lobby. That's held by the mid laner, but he's still got the same. The mid laner for the Shoguns is about the same. He's 16, gonna hit 17 probably off of a wave or two. It's not looking very strong for the Rodents because it seems like they should have a lead. That's what I'm getting at. But in no way, shape, or form do they have a lead. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where what your eyes see doesn't match up with what your brain thinks and feels. And, credit to Shoguns for making sure that this game has not gotten out of hand, that they're still in a position to fight back and, get a kill in the duo lane that swings momentum in their favor. And they did repulse that earlier attempt at the Pyromancer from the Rodents, preventing them from getting that objective. And now this beacon has spawned. We expect to see some grouping up there. Ooh, misses the Heim ult, unfortunately. Going to put that on cooldown, and Fatty Bacon is going to be able to get out of there with nary a threat onto his health bar there. Positioning here, very important. As we see this Freya potentially out isolated a little bit, forced into Valkyrie's discretion by the World Serpent, and Hovering Death coming down. They're advancing, comes down, hits, and gets the stun, but not able to get the follow-up. In fact, Flash turns it around as he lands. Great play there to just pump out so much damage. But elsewhere, Krogerman picks up another kill onto Pockles, and Shogun's got the beacon. So it's a 1-for-1 plus beacon that favors the Shoguns, even if the Flash picks up another kill. And it's just Shoguns grouping up around this Gold Fury now.
Very interesting turnaround. Pockles going down, though, is going to make this more difficult. And I'm seeing the Shoguns go for this Gold Fury. Oni Fury at that is the right play. They need to be extending this gold lead that they've somehow managed to take. Fafnir's going to come up into the ultimate, maybe be able to steal this away, but just a little off the mark there. So it means that the Shoguns will walk away with an Oni Fury. And, I mean, it's just very small wins, like I said before, that's turning into much bigger wins. The Shoguns just continue to have a handle on this game, and it's all been off the mid-game point. Flash has just not been able to carry this one for the Rodents, man.
Yeah, maybe small wins for the Shoguns to keep them in the game and get this lead, but that was big damage coming out of Krogerman into Jacob Frostycones. I mean, how are you supposed to frontline against an X-Ball who's just chunking your health bar like that, as we see Thanatos hovering, coming down, getting the execute, and getting another kill into Shogun's favor as they are advancing through this purple buff onto these two hunters who are isolated now. Uller falling low, Pockles will fall, the Flash falls as well. Great grouping here by the Shoguns as they're going to push into this tower, it looks like.
And just another great start. Jormungandr is the key winner in that fight. He's the one who gets it all started and gets it all done for his team. Only took him 19 minutes, man, but after that early kill, we finally see a kill on the Thanatos. 3 kills, actually. A little bit of a slow Phoenix burn, but it's going to eventually go down. Might see a kill in response as the X-Ball falls low. Pluck off the mark. Might be able to turn it around.
Definitely, and Fatty Bacon's up in the sky again already. Comes down, gets another execute onto Daddy Neptune, and gets the kill on to Dashiway, as the UwU Shoguns have completely turned this game around and taken all the momentum for themselves. This gold leads up to almost 6,000. They've taken the Gold Fury, taken almost every life at one point, and I think it's a 5-0 and a Phoenix for UwU Shoguns. Either way, it's a completely dominant one-sided victory for the Shoguns in that engagement, and they have taken this game by the throat.
Yeah, by the way, they didn't have Fire Giant buff for that one. They actually did that with no Fire Giant buff. Maybe had a bomb there, I'm not sure. I didn't check inventories before that one went down. But either way, no Fire Giant buff, and they managed to get a left-sided Phoenix. That's just good macro play on their part. And again, it only took him 20 minutes, but Fatty Bacon has come into his own. He is now online for the Shoguns, and he is making a big impact in this game.
Yeah, Shoguns also pick up the Pyromancer there, and they are positioning themselves fantastically here and to look at the Fire Giant pretty much whenever they want to, whenever they feel comfortable, because Rootin Rodents are going to have to deal with those fire minions marching down left lane, as we see Pockles over there getting some farm, pushing that wave out, potentially buying some time. Maybe he pushes that T1 just to get some gold for the team, but Rodents in a rough spot here, as we see Shoguns grouped up in this mid lane, lots of ward coverage out. Actually, Rodents have control of the fire pit with the wards right now, though I expect the Shoguns, to be placing their sentries and dewarding it as we speak. Not just out of range there to get all of them, so 1 ward for Rodents does give them vision of the pit. And Pockles has pushed down that tower over in the left lane. He's still over there. We've got Daddy Neptune split pushing in mid, so I think Shoguns might want to just drop this fire in advance, take the fight when you have the numbers, but instead they're going to pull it. And so far, damage is going. It's melting pretty fast here.
Coming down very quickly. Jormungandr in the back doing a great job of zoning. Beacon also going to be opening soon after this one, so something to look for afterwards. But Fire Giant finally goes down. The Shoguns get it completely uncontested, and now they're going to turn their attention to whatever they can find, and it's the Freya over here, Krogerman on cleanup duty. But meanwhile, that's all been going on. Tier 2 and left falls, mid tier 2 also almost falls, but it doesn't look like the Rodents are undeterred.
No, Shoguns take the Fire Giant, get a kill onto the Flash afterwards, and say, you can have the 1 T2, we're going to take this T2 and balance it out, and march for more. Maybe not a Phoenix. It looks like they're going to take the T2 in mid and wait for the chance to group up with Fire Giant around all 5 wastes here, as Ben Dizzle, forced into the World Serpent, goes in a little bit, but I expect to see him coming back out as they do come back under this T2 tower. But Rodents putting up a good defense, get the pluck onto Nox and the kill. They manage to say, no, you don't get to just take our towers. We're not going down without a fight.
Yeah, very strong defense there from the Rodents, recognizing the potential that they had there. World Serpent having to be used there means that there's no tank there for them to take that tower. So they had to fall off of it. They only find a kill on the Gymkhana, but it's enough. And Ben Dizzle not being available and untargetable from anything means that just is a very difficult siege for them. But they're going to fall right back into form as soon as they get over here on this Gold Fury and take that one uncontested. So a little bit of extra farm in their pockets. Fire Giant's still going to be on them for a while, so there will be another attempt at this tier 2 pretty shortly, as long as they, stay on top of their timers and maybe not do a tier 2 siege in such sloppy conditions.
Yeah, also great play there out of Jacob Frostycones, being positioned to peel for Dashy Way, get him out away from Fatty Bacon, and also force the beads off of this Thanatos, which could potentially it definitely makes them more cautious on a potential siege, because now he can't just ult in without fear. He has to be somewhat wary. So great job to make the siege that much more difficult, that much more thoughtful out of the Shoguns. As so far they haven't quite grouped up. They're still a little spread out, just kind of gathering farm. Got about a minute and a half left on this Fire Giant, and now maybe potentially they converge on this mid T2, but I don't like just two of them walking up, even if it's only one visible now, because as you see, the Rodents group up, plucks the Nox away, but Nox is very tanky and able to survive. So now the Shoguns are grouping up 3 strong, about to be 4 strong with Krogerman coming from behind. It's going to be a 4-1 split, and I don't expect to see this tower live much longer at all as the Shoguns walk in. Rodents, show some face, don't just give it up for free, but also don't give up any valuable ults or relics or lives in the process of defending it. They just make sure that Shoguns know they're not going to give anything for free and easy, and Shoguns are not going to push a Phoenix. It looks like they're just going to fall back, take this Pyromancer, and, just kind of gather some farm for the last 40 or so seconds of this Fire Giant buff and position themselves strong for the next dance.
Yeah, just a very slow and clean play from the Rodents there, or from the Shoguns there. Rodents not really able to defend that. Just too much damage at once on that tower means that it's going to go down pretty quickly, and Fire Giant almost running out means they have to do something pretty quickly. I'm not surprised that the Rodents just let that one fall, though. You can't risk losing a teammate right now when you have a weakened left side Phoenix, and the T2 being so low means it's already difficult to defend. I think the Rodents made the right decision. And grouping up on this right-hand side while the Fire Giant slowly ticks away. It's gone now.
It's gone now.
This is a risky one.
Yeah, interesting choice, but Shoguns are still grouped up here, and they have the Fafnir tied up. He's able to jump away and save his own hide, and they're still grouping up and posturing around this Phoenix, and just trying to gather some space, maybe split out wide that Thanatos. He's just kind of hovering around. Is he going to go? Everyone's ult and Relic is available right now. They're marching in. Nox taking a lot of damage and gets forced back out, turned away. Not a worthwhile trade there. 70% of your support health bar for no Phoenix HP. Not good. But they're still positioned here. They're still grouped up. They want to push this Phoenix, but Rodents have the numbers. This Thanatos has backed off. It's not a 4-1 split. It's a 5v4 for the next 10 seconds. And Fire Giant's going to spawn 10 seconds from now. No team has... I mean, yes, Shoguns are, positioned up further and closer to it, but now they're falling back, and Rodents are able to successfully defend their base, don't give up any siege, and now Nox has to back. Rodents are the team that's a little healthier and can potentially get ward vision and, just control of the Fire Giant pit. So potential overextension there from the Shoguns when there wasn't really much of a chance of that risk paying off. There wasn't really a big shot of that Phoenix going down.
Yeah, I
Nox
just
carried by Ben into the...
I don't know what the whole point of that was, to be honest. That was just a long, drawn-out engagement while Fire Giant was coming up. I guess there's no reason to back up because Fire Giant's not up yet, but at the same time, I just don't know. I don't think that was necessary, and I guess it pays off in the end. Teleports up, Nox can just take the the free taxi service back to the Fire Giant pit. So maybe I'm just kind of looking at it too sternly. Maybe it was the right idea.
Yeah, because Rodents did get some ward vision, but then they abandoned the Fire Giant pit, and Shoguns stepped up and they said, "We're just gonna pull it. We're just gonna pull it. It's shredding." Shoguns destroy the Fire Giant. They get the buffer on all 5, but forced into the World Serpent has to back away while the rest of the team advances. No, they're gonna drop back. They say, "We saw what happened to our solo laner. We don't want that to happen to us." They're just gonna fall back and looks like get this beacon, get a little bit of poke onto these Phoenixes before grouping up and attempting a proper siege this time around as Rodents are advancing. They're not just going to give this up. Blink, pluck, Thanatos in danger. He's going to have to go into the sky. Does get out of there. He's running for the hills, and I cannot blame him. Another pluck by this Sobek.
Wow.
He's hitting everything.
He's just going so low. He's down to 50%. They get the silence down, but they lose the mid here. Sobek's going to try and clean this one up as well. It's actually a really strong team fight from the Rodents.
Rodents have shown up and completely turned the advantage back into their favor. It's a 2-for-0, and they're still in position to take this beacon now. UwU Shoguns not wanting to just give it up. Ben Dizzle says, "I'm at least going to try to get some poke," but beacon will go to the side of the Rootin, Tootin Rodents, Cyberpunk honors for some of you guys, I guess, if you want to use their legal government names. And then they will also go and pull this Gold Fury, but UwU Shogun's not going to give that up. Dashy Way gets a kill, Fatty Bacon gets a kill onto Dashy Way, blows him up, and also some damage onto this Fafnir, who is coming out of the dragon form at the wrong time. He jumps out. He gets out of there. Daddy Neptune also gets a kill onto Krogerman. Thanatos trying desperately to pump out some damage, but there's 3 people surrounding him, tries to go up into the sky, but not able to. Rootin' Tootin' Rodents have nullified this Fire Giant. They've taken it off 4 members, and it only cost them 1.
That was an expert re-engage from the Rodents there. Very well played. Realized what they had available to them. Ben Dizzle didn't have the ultimate whenever they walked up to that beacon, and they take full advantage of it, make everyone back off, catch out Gymkhana, and then take Krogerman as well. Stack up on that beacon. Shoguns try to make a re-engage happen, are able to steal that Gold Fury away, but at the end of it all, still end up losing 2 members in the process, aren't able to get anyone else really in response to it. Pyromancer does go down to the Shoguns as well, so keeping that objective play in their favor. But it's just, it's a very tough one from the Shoguns here. I don't really know what they can do if the fights from the Rodents and the defenses and the re-engages are going to look this strong. This is going to be a very tough game for the Shoguns at this point.
Yeah, and just fantastic play from the Rodents. They are absolutely refusing to go down. They didn't give up, they didn't give up when the Shoguns won that team fight and got the left Phoenix. They were able to make sure they didn't let the Titan get damaged or anyone split push out and catch them unawares. They didn't give up the Fire Giant for free. They were able to get the map back in their control. Yes, the Phoenix is weakened, but it's up now. It's as strong as it will ever be. They defended the right side bird from that pseudo siege, and now they've taken Fire Giant off of basically everyone on the Shoguns. And like you said, I don't know what Shoguns are going to do, but apparently it looks like they have a plan. Rootin' Tootin' Rodents don't know. Maybe they do know. They have to have a ward somewhere because they all just backed and they're going to defend this left Phoenix. And it's going to be a real siege attempt. I'm a little surprised. Only 18 seconds left on this Fire Giant. Ben Dizzle walks in. They're getting some damage onto this bird. It's at 40%. Whoop onto Nox. More damage pumping out by both sides. They're repulsed out of the Phoenix as Fafnir goes into the ult. Sobek blinks forward. Gets a pluck onto the X-Ball, but able to beads away. And now they have forced the Shoguns out of the Phoenix line and are pumping damage into this World Serpent. Forced out of Ben Dizzle, but manages to get the kill onto Jacob Frostycones. Dr. Shrew picks up a kill. The Shoguns are marching forward. They take the bird. They're 5 strong. They've taken 2. Get a kill onto Daddy Neptune. Trades out Fatty Bacon, but it's a 3-for-1 and the Phoenix, and they're marching forward. No, they're marching sideways. Sobek comes forward, but misses the pluck. Shoguns positioning. I think they want to go for the end, but probably a good call by them to just go ahead, back up. Be happy you got the bird and get out of there. Oh, get a second bird as well.
Yeah, they were able to reclaim that left Phoenix and get that mid Phoenix as well, and they're still here. A teleport back in from the solo laner means that this fight's not necessarily over yet, and they're going to try and take this right side Phoenix now as well with the waves so far or so close up. They might not even try and go for the waves. No Fire Giant on anybody. Van Dizzle lost that long time ago. Sobek getting stopped by the Nox there is going to have to back off now, and that right side Phoenix just goes down. It's just, I don't know how the Shoguns managed it, but I think it's going to definitely be off the back of a good Jormungandr ultimate, just zoning everyone out and just making it very difficult for the Rodents to actually defend this one.
Yeah, some great map play there out of the Shoguns. I did notice they had some pyro bombs before that siege. They don't have any now, so I have to assume that they used them well, able to get all 3 of the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents Phoenixes down. And now, as the Fire Giant has respawned, the Shoguns are in position to pull it, and looks like they are. Yes, they are. And Rodents have to make a decision. Do you defend this Fire Giant? Do you make the Hail Mary defense, or do you just fall back and just say, we don't want these minions to attack our Titan? It looks like they're kind of trying to do both. This Fire Giant is getting shredded quick. It will fall. It will fall. The Rodents get it.
Stolen.
Krogerman picks up the kill on the Apocalypse, though, but are they able to get out? So far, no. Fafnir up into the ult to immune some damage, but not all. Maybe enough. Maybe enough he's able to jump out. No, not enough. Fatty Bacon picks up the kill. Shoguns don't get the Fire Giant, but they are marching forward as they've taken 2 kills onto the Rodents. Grouped up 5 men strong, marching forward through this non-existent mid-bird. They're trying to say, we don't need the Fire Giant. We want to end this game here and now. Marching forward, they get some poke onto the Titan. They're just able to walk forward, and this X-Ball is just shredding it. He's doing so much damage, doing it faster than the Rodents can react. Just melts it, and it looked like 7 autos. Shoguns just walk up, take this game, 16-16 in kills, but from the 15-minute mark on, the Shoguns completely ran this game. Everything went in their favor, and they are able to pick up the win and tie this set, going into a game 3 here eventually. Freaky. What a fun game to watch.
Yeah, it was a complete it completely turned around. I don't even know what to say. They come in the early game talking about the Otters, make a really strong showing of it, looks really good in the early, and somehow, some way, Shoguns completely turn it around with just superior farm. Then start grabbing objectives. Little bit of a hiccup here and there just makes it a little bit more difficult for them in the end, but off of just superior sieging and just utilizing their tools, turn this one completely around and take us to a game 3.
Yeah, and just fantastic play there from the UwU Shoguns. I know we said that the late game favored the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents there, and in theory, it would have if this game would have gone on much longer. A triple Hunter comp could have spelled disaster in any fight, but the UwU Shoguns are able to not let it get to that point. They win this game at just about the point where we said it might be too much for them to handle. They say, we're not even going to get there. But I bet even if we would have gotten there with the way they played this game, they would have handled it. They would have found a way to win, as they did. Great smite played there from both teams, but Shoguns were able to just clean it up and play better as a unit there in the second half of this game. I'm excited to see who's going to come here and win this game 3 set. I'm sure Freaky is as well, and I'm going to speak for Salty and say he's excited too, but we will have to wait until after this break to bring you some game 3 action here in their retirement home.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back one more time tonight for this set. At least it's still Freaky G, and it's still Deacon, and it's still Salty, and we're all pretty well and excited for this game 3 in this best of 3 set. Always nice when these games go this long, isn't it, Deacon?
Oh, absolutely. It's just so fun and entertaining. I love to watch the set as it balances like back and forth through these games. And, we've seen both teams play really well at points and really take control of one of these games. So it's going to be exciting to see who's able to execute better and capitalize on the momentum they've gained through the first two games here.
Yeah, and the Gunshow Shoguns made it a back and forth affair. It was really in the swing of Cyberpunk Otters at the start of that one, and it just kind of slowly slipped out of their hands. They weren't really keeping an eye on the farm and weren't capitalizing on when camps were up. And then out of nowhere, Gunshow Shoguns take the lead. They start getting these objectives. They have the better confirm over the triple ADC composition that was drafted by the Cyberpunk Otters. If I'm being realistic here, I don't think Cyberpunk Otters do it again. There's just no way.
Yeah, it was like that scene in a movie where someone is just like landing a bunch of attacks and hits onto someone and they just feel no damage, and you're just like, how? I've punched you in the face like 8 times. We have the kill lead like 8-1 or whatever it was. How are you not bleeding? And the Shoguns just said they didn't care about the offensive the Rodents put up through the first chunk of that game.
No, and that's the kind of issue that you're going to run into, especially with how chaotic a lot of those fights were for the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents. Ban phase is completed. First phase, Odin, Achilles, and Charon. Rodents not really changing up a whole lot. Shoguns taking away the Hachi, Cthulhu, and Athena again. So the same bans in game 3. Interesting again, though, that it's the Athena ban once again for the Shoguns.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a surprise there. Again, Athena does bring things to the table, but I just think she's fallen a step behind some of the other things that gods in the support role can provide and do for your team. I do understand not wanting to deal with it. It's like, global presence, dash taunt, yada yada yada. Everyone said it 100 times because she's been relevant for so long now. But it does leave open things like this Jing Chen, which the Rodents ran very effectively in game 1, got it banned away from them in game 2, and now they're going to get it here again in game 3, and I would expect Dashy Wei to play pretty darn well on it given what he did in game 1.
Yeah, I've just got question marks forming over my head right now. I don't even know what to say, what to ask, how to feel. It doesn't make sense. This Athena ban is troubling at best. And then again, like you just said, you ban this Athena only to give Dashue a pick that he basically helped the Cyberpunk Otters win the game on. And then you go over here to the Shoguns and you pick Kalina. I have more question marks forming. Help me out, man. I'm not liking what I'm seeing, and I don't have a lot of responses.
It's definitely been a bit interesting here out of Shogun so far. The decision to give up that Jing Chen. They do get what is a strong duo in the Kalina and Merlin in the sense that they can pump out a lot of damage in a team fight, and Kleena brings something to the table that no one else in the game does, with that presence in the walls and the ability to just attack you from a place that you cannot attack her, and be in places you don't expect people to come at you from. But again, as we saw out of Rodents last draft, it's not that I don't like the pick, it's that I think you could have gotten it later and gotten some more priority targets, like maybe this on her, that, now is going to be in the Rodents' hands again. That, again, they played it very well in that first game. The only thing they've changed up from the first half of their draft is they've gotten Thoth, who is gonna do Thoth things. He's just gonna pump out a bunch of damage in these team fights as well.
Yeah, and not to mention, we haven't even said it yet, but Sniper Glenn is filling in for this game. Daddy Neptune moves out of mid over to support. Flash is going to take over in the mid lane. So they're giving him a mage that is similar to the Giannis, just an explosive long range ultimate that he can take advantage of, which, while all of his ultimates on the Giannis game didn't connect, when they did hit, it hit pretty hard. And it was part of the reason why they won that game earlier in the first game of the set. So maybe some role swaps for sure, but I don't think they're too concerned, and they seem to have a pretty good understanding of the draft so far.
Yeah, definitely a good, strong team presence out of the Rodents so far. As we've moved through the picks and bans, the rest of the bans being Owilix and Ganesh from the Shoguns, and the Jormungandr and Kuzenbo from the Rodents. Rodents banning both of the solo laners that were in that last game. Don't want to deal with either of them. Say, nope, not having it. Does leave open the Pele for the Shoguns to select, and now have a double assassin comp. So one of these two going into the solo lane. Both can do it pretty well. Both bring different things to the table from a solo versus jungle role. And it's going to be interesting in these team fights to see how they play and how they maneuver about it and pick those targets, because if they play and maneuver well, they can just get in and blow up one or two members of the Rodents before a team fight even starts and win it before it starts.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something about this Kleena real quick. It's actually not bad if this is a Kleena solo. Jing Qian into Kleena. It's not like a crazy counter matchup or anything, but Kleena actually has a decent matchup into Jing Qian for two reasons. One, she's an assassin. She's going to put out way more damage in the early and mid game portions than this
Especially
Jing
once she hits
Qian.
level 5.
Yeah, and then there's that right there, the ability to out clear the Jing Qian. And looking at the fight, you can't knock this Kleena up if she has her one. Now, Jing Qian's ultimate outlasts the duration of Kleena's one, but if he comes up to try and get the hook slam for the root, she can just one out of the knockup duration and do damage to the Jing Qian while he's in that animation. So it's not like a crazy counter matchup or anything. I'm not saying that, but it is a good pick if it's a Kleena solo. So we're gonna keep an eye on this and see if this is a Ben Dizzle pilot. But as we go down the pick order a little further, Terra and Thanatos get locked in for the Cyberpunk Otters. Now, Terra has been quite uh been quite the talk of the town lately. She's gotten that change to her one where she is similar to a lot of stance switchers. She gets that ability at level 0, meaning she doesn't have to have any levels in it to use it. She can have it up. It's on a 20-second cooldown until you put a rank in it, but it does at least give her the clear potential that she used to not have. So now you can do that 3-1 combo at the start of the game, meaning your clear is infinitely better now on the Terra pick. It still doesn't change anything, though, for the most part in the early game. It's still pretty rough, but just like going back to it, her early game is better now, and she's always been a strong late game pick.
Absolutely. And it's just one of those things that her first 3 levels were so brutal to play. Like you just felt like you couldn't do anything without having all of your kit open to you. And I know that obviously that's the case for every god in the game. If you don't have points in your ability and can't use it, you can't use it. But it's a lot more punishing for some gods than for other ones. And so Hi-Rez decided to do something that they only do in like super necessary cases, like Terra, and just be like, you can use it without a point into it, but they always give some sort of balance to that. Same with Bacchus and his Chug. It's like you can get it, but Terra, you have a super extended cooldown and you do no damage. You can
Mhm.
only use it to do your rocks, which frees up her kit, makes her feel a lot better because you have your whole kit available. But you're still a Terra early game, like you said. Like you're not the most imposing presence. You're still playing more for that late game team fight presence. Unlike the Thanatos that got locked in with her, which, as we saw last game, wants to get active early. Fatty Bacon maybe up and down through the early game, but put it together and came through in the late game with some phenomenal plays for his team. But he kept trying to get active early game because that's just what Thanatos wants to do, especially once he hits level 5.
Yeah, and I think Sniper Glenn maybe has a little bit of an easier time going on and going into this game. And I've also got to mention that the Shoguns actually didn't draft a single tank. And one
Correct.
little one little last April Fool's joke here from us, if anybody hasn't figured it out. April Fools. We're watching this game from the chaos side, everybody.
Gotta love getting a nice fresh perspective on life, and
Right?
everything's so different here from this point of view. Uh, Interesting decision by Agni. Interesting decision with this Agni in general, because you're right. Hadn't like connected all the dots with the Shogun's draft. You're right. They didn't get a single tank. I saw the Agni and I'm like, ooh, Agni's a really good pick. That's a good mid laner for them. But like they already had the Merlin, so it's
Yeah.
Ben Dizzle with the Agni solo, which is
Oh. Ooh. Very close. I was expecting a little bit more, but not enough to matter. Look at the damage coming out from these two DPS characters. It's a clean carry. You were going down the lineup there. It's a clean carry. Morgan Le Fay support. Shrew's on the only character that makes sense. No, I take that back. Pele is in jungle, so there's that. You got a double mage lineup, a double assassin. Your assassins are your damage dealers. This is a very interesting composition. But one composition that I will say, if this works, it's going to be a very difficult one for the Shoguns to, or for the Otters to make anything of this.
absolutely. It's definitely rough in the sense of like, no natural tanks. This Morgan Le Fay is building a support build and looks like Ben Dizzle is going to build probably a hybrid build. So it's not like they don't have any tankiness to them through the build, but no natural tanks means it's naturally just a very aggressive lineup. They want to do a lot of damage, and like you said, if they can get the momentum in their side, get some leads in places, or God forbid, all across the map, Rodents are
Yeah,
going to have a super tough time fighting into all of that aggression, all of that damage. But so far, when it's been a neutral start, looks like they've done pretty well for themselves.
yeah, and I'm gonna make a very strong call out here in this game as we watch the Kleena get zapped into a wall. Thanatos hovering and waiting around for the Kleena to come out. Instead, changes the target over to the Morgan Le Fay, gets him pretty low, turns his attention over to the ADC now. Right after getting that kill, Beads comes out, dashing away, and just barely alive. A great first blood though from the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents, and that's the one I was kind of pointing to. If this is going to be a very quick game, I'm just going to say it like it is. This is going to be a very quick game, and it's going to be a pre-30-minute one for one reason, for two very big reasons. If the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents don't let these guys get a lead, it's going to be a pretty easy win for them. There's no true tank. Agni's going to build some defense, maybe. It looks like he's going into something into the Gauntlet of Thebes area, maybe not that particular item. But just the same, it's not a true tank. Just the same, though, if the Shoguns manage to get a lead in the early game, they will win this game they have to win this game in 30 minutes. They cannot allow the Rodents to actually close that gap.
Yeah, and good job earlier by Sniper Glenn to just be in position to make sure Shoguns can't get that ball rolling. He was just standing there waiting for them to try to retreat to tower, and you turn around and there's a Thanatos there, and I panic in that situation, and I'm sure the Shoguns did too.
Especially whenever you got that slow on you as well from the on her pillar. Very difficult situation. As the game goes on, it's only 1 kill up, and the Otters do have the small lead right now with that gold fury, or with the gold fury, with that first blood bounty. Looks like we're gonna fight over the beacon, or not the God. I don't know what I'm talking about. Very low is the cleanup. Auto attacks are gonna connect here, and it's gonna be a kill for the minions, but handed over to Pockles. A little bit of help from the smallest of helpers in this game, and another kill in the duo lane means that the Rodents just continue to hold on to a strong lead that they were likely to get with this composition they're playing into.
Yeah, we had some action all over the map there as we see more action as Fatty Bacon blinks in, trying to get this kill onto the on her. Does with the Volcanic Lightning, trying to pick up the second one onto Terra. Not quite able to get that one, but able to come over, swing back the momentum, get the Shoguns on the board as more action spills in this duo lane. There was action in mid lane. Both players died, although one of them died to tower, so good job there by, I believe it was Sniper who was the one who died to tower. But just action all over the place. It's been a very exciting 4 minutes and 52 seconds so far as we see these mid laners scuffle with each other.
Yeah, neither of these mid laners are at a point where they can absolutely 100-0 each other. Don't expect to see any early kills in this lane. And obviously, once these mid laners get to late, they're both going to be swinging for the fences, but it's just going to be a pretty long time until that happens. Meanwhile, the jungle is the one that's going to be trying to swing. Can't quite get the damage out. A little too fast as that dash. Sniper Glenn hovering on this left side, right side if we were looking from a normal perspective. Looking to see if he can find anything. Merlin not really stepping up though. Playing cautious. And it's just going to stay this way, I think. Oh, good damage. Looking for the ult, doesn't connect. Oh, I was waiting. That's why I went quiet there for a sec. I saw him charging it. But unable to connect that damage. Merlin, wise to the Thanatos being around, but maybe not wise enough, but does not connect the scythe damage there. So no kill for the Thanatos. Going up in the air, though, and does find the kill under the tier 2. A lot of pressure on that Merlin to finally get that kill. And no response from the Shoguns just means that it's kind of a free game for them.
Yeah, I mean, great plays out of there by Shrew to survive as long as he did. Avoids the Thothalt, avoids the Thanatos Scythe, does make him go up into the sky to get the execute, but unfortunately not able to juke everything and does fall eventually, but really making the Rodents work for it and sweat it out.
I'm sorry, was that an aggressive dash from the Thoth that didn't get capitalized on? That is crazy to me, by the way. Insane. And now the Terra going to try and steal some of this Chester Camp farm. Looks like she got it too. It's a very simple game from the Rodents. They know what they need to do. We cannot allow them to get a lead because their composition flounders without one. And they're just playing a very methodical, meticulous game. And that's probably very frustrating for the Shoguns here.
Probably, but I like what you said there. It's just simple play out of the Rodents, and based on team comps, that's all they have to do. They just have to make the simple plays and let the natural strength of having a balanced team come out and give them those advantages, whereas the Shoguns have drafted themselves a comp where if things go well, yeah, they will play extremely well together, but when faced with adversity, the question then becomes: are you able to make up the typical shortcomings that you don't have because of what you've chosen to draft? Are you able to take your advantages in damage and aggression and make up for them? And so far hasn't quite looked like it. Rootin' Tootin' Rodents are having a big lead and gonna expand that lead as they pick up the kill onto Kroger. Man gets ganked by the support, and that's never a good feeling.
No, that was a really well thought out engagement. That was a really well thought out gank from Daddy Neptune there. Just makes his way over to the dual lane. Saw a few abilities go on cooldown, walked in there and made it happen. The key one being that dash being down, able to lock down the ADC, I guess. Pele getting smacked in the mouth. but Thanatos has that ultimate, goes up into the air, no true escape from the Pele means that Sniper Glenn will find his 3rd kill in the game. Very well played, and it's just, as I said already, simple, solid plays from the Rodents to continue this trend of winning. And a stolen, is it stolen? I don't know if it turns blue. I don't know if it's grayed out on the Chaos side if you're watching the Chaos side. I'm going to assume it's not stolen because everyone just kind of dispersed there. But either way, it's just slow, methodical play over and over again. And now Terra's in the solo lane side of the map, making her presence known across the world here. A little bit poked out. Jing Qian is going to show up to try and help out his support, Dash Yue. Not going to be able to find anything other than some zoning ability, though. Had to fall back for his blue.
Yeah, and just, again, Rodents just playing super well there, and that's a combo that's going to hurt and be effective all game. If you get hit by a Thoth ult, if you're lucky enough to survive that and it doesn't kill you, guess what? That Thanatos is going to be coming down on you soon after, because if the Thoth ult doesn't kill you, it for sure puts you in execute range.
Yeah. Pele getting caught out here, Fatty Bacon. Once again, just trying to even up the score. Stay even, if he will, trying to get some of that farm off the other side of the map. Not going to be able to get it, though. I don't know about you, but I feel like watching this game from the Chaos side, the map looks brighter. Maybe it's just because looking at the Olympus side of the map, it's just brighter colors. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me.
Sometimes it might just be a little bit of a grass is always greener on the other side situation.
It certainly seems that way with the way Rodents are holding on to the lead in this game. 3K almost lead in their favor. And it's just off of, I'm going to sound like a broken record, just continuously solid play on their part. And I don't like calling games this early, but if they continue to play at this methodical rate, it will very likely be a Rodents victory here.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously not over yet. And while the lead is 2,500, 3,000, somewhere in that range, that is a lot for 11 minutes in. It's not insurmountable. Shoguns absolutely can still come together and put the strengths of their draft to good work, as we see some damage over into the Jing Chen in the solo lane, but Thanatos comes crashing in and helps get another kill onto Gymkhana, picks up his 4th of the match.
And this solo laner is still surviving, not really concerned about any of the gank potential on him, and that's just the fun of playing a Guardian in that lane. You are nigh unkillable in this game, and he's playing like that as well. Has magic defense only and still does not care about a Pele running him down. Has that prophetic cloak at least, but that's still not a lot of physical protections in his case. And I think he was expecting maybe a little bit more damage from Ben Dizzle, but he goes for this. I know the name of this item. It's going to bug me. Oh, it's going to bug the hell out of me.
Starts with a G.
Oh, it's something curious. I know that.
You're talking about Ben's item? Cannoneer's Curious.
Yeah, Cannoneer's Curious. That's what it, Cannoneer's Curious. And that hurts his damage potential. Not hurting anyone's damage potential, though, is Pockles going to find that kill onto Krogerman once again. 1v1 or the beacon, and almost hits that ultimate again. He can't find the ultimate on the Merlin.
Can't hit the hieroglyphic assaults either. Merlin is proving to be, he's got his juke shoes laced up so far. He is making the Rodents work for every bit of damage that they have gotten onto him this game. It's just, unfortunately for him, they keep throwing all the damage at him, and he's just been in a position where it's either dodge everything or, get crushed by a Thoth. He's able to hold on and everything, but that's not a game I want to be playing.
We have a term for what you just described. Would you like to know what that term is?
What?
Accuracy by volume, ABV. If you keep throwing if you keep shooting at it, eventually you're going to hit that target. And that's exactly what the Rodents are doing here. They are just throwing their abilities at a target. Not going to hit every single one of them, but eventually you will connect one of those abilities and it's going to hurt. So I'm not hating on them by their play at all. Very interesting engagement onto this Agni. Had to burn the beads though, so that's something to play off of. But with Jingqian being so low and Pele hovering, they're gonna disengage here and just come back to lane. TP is gonna be up in about 5 seconds, so he'll be able to make his way back to that lane very quickly. Actually got his backstop. Pele's gonna dive into the tower. Ultimate actually doesn't connect. He's just juking him under his own tower. He finally falls to Fatty Bacon. Not enough damage, or not enough tower damage to keep him from dying there, but certainly made that a lot more difficult than it needed to be.
Yeah, Sniper Glenn comes over and uses the Thanatos ult defensively in the sense that he came over to try and save his solo laner. Is able to come in, get the peel, and help Dashiway survive. But as you said, after that engagement ends and they try to back off, they're able to stop Dashiway's back and keep him there. And then they're just like lions stalking a wounded gazelle. They're just animals salivating at the mouth as they come in and take Dashiway under his tower. And now the Rodents, despite being down their solo laner, come over. Oh, yes, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, Rodents take the Gold Fury. I'm confused by the switch in perspective. It's getting me now freaky.
Yeah, the Pyromancer play, though, might have not helped your situation there. But no, they do confirm that Gold Fury, so just keeping that gold lead a little bit ahead. But Shoguns even it up by picking up a Pyromancer for themselves in response. Good call on their part, but what's not helping is when Sniper Glim grabs another kill onto the support of the Shoguns. Terra also tanking that tower for him in that engagement makes it very easy for him to survive it. Now, more damage. Beads burned in Hieroglyphic Assault just off the mark. Merlin lives again to tell the tale. And I think that's going to be a pretty common trend in this game for the mid laner here.
Yeah, he's just been under fire all game long, and the Hieroglyphic Assault does have long range, but it's not quite long enough for Flash to pick up the kill. But like you said, does force the beads out of the Merlin, who now has to position even safer than he's already been having to, and that's a rough position to be in, especially now with the minion wave taking that T1 tower away from him. That's another level of safety that Dr. Shrew has had stripped away from him now, and the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents are really putting the Shoguns in an uncomfortable position where they're asking a lot of questions that the Shoguns don't have a lot of answers to.
Yeah, and it just continues to get more difficult as that lead gets bigger and bigger. Having no tank is very troublesome. Having a damage dealer built as a tank is even more difficult. And I think it's kind of the way that we're going to see this Agni go. He's just not going to have that burst. He's going to be there primarily for CC. Terra ult's going to come out. Jingqian's going to throw back the Morgan Le Fay. Ultimate's going to have to be used to try and peel her off.
Yeah, and we see a lot of ults expanded here in this duo solo lane engagement, but all the tanks are here, or, pseudo tanks, and there's not a lot of damage being done, but there is a lot of damage being done to Pockles as Fatty Bacon manages to pick up the kill, but Thanatos is hovering in the sky. Flash not going to let him take it as he takes the kill for himself, and there's more damage to come as he's pumping out the Hieroglyphic Assault onto everybody.
Finally. He finally gets it, and then he picks up a triple kill. Flash coming up huge for his team, and Sniper Glenn going to take the Quadra away from the mid laner of the Rodents. But I don't think he's too worried about it. 4 members dead of the Rootin' Tootin' or of the Gun Show Shoguns. It did it to me again. And it's looking like this game is already closed. I'm not going to say it's over, but if the Rodents lose this game, it is 100% on them throwing it. It just does not look like they can lose this game at this point.
Yeah, it is. It is, as Mifflin likes to call it, a 99%er at this point in time. Shoguns have dug themselves a very deep hole that they're going to have to try to find a way to climb out of. And I don't think Rodents are really going to give them a chance. They're certainly not going to lend a hand down and help them climb out of that hole. So Shoguns are going to have to find a way to pick themselves up by the bootstraps and get it done if they want to avoid losing this game and confirming themselves into the gauntlet next weekend.
It only looks like they have a chance here onto Daddy Neptune. They're going to turn their attention over to Sniper Glenn now. The duo lane finally getting a little bit of a
Oh.
return, but holy health bar. Thanatos does manage to live, but with how close that was, yeah, 100 health at this point. Yeah, that dude walked away with probably like 20 hit points to his name. He definitely didn't feel alive as he flew away there.
Nah, but 20 hit points is 19 more than you need to survive, and doesn't matter how thin the margin was, Sniper Glenn is able to get out of there and prevent that from being a much bigger
Hold
turn
on,
of momentum for Shoguns.
hold on, Deacon. We're gonna have a small math lesson here. 20 hit points minus 19 is what?
1, which is all you need. So 19, so if you have the 1 you need
Okay,
plus
I'm the
19, you
fool.
get to
Yep.
20.
Nope. 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 You're right. I'm the fool. I'm the fool. I tried to sound smart. I'm not smart. You know what? Never mind. April Fools.
And
I'm the fool now, and so is the Morgan Le Fay as the Flash dashes in aggressively once again. No fear on the face of the mid laner, and on her burning ult doesn't matter because Flash picks up another kill in that hieroglyphic assault. He is 5-0. Excuse me, 5-0 right now. A very fantastic game from the fill-in mid here.
absolutely, the Flash has just pumped out all kinds of damage and bought his team so much space in engagements and been able to find these killing blows.
Him
And yeah, he's just
aggressive.
the Shoguns have no answer for him. What do you do when a Thoth is barraging you with these onslaughts from so far away? The answer is go get killed by Pockles and Sniper Glenn, apparently, unfortunately for the Shoguns.
I just it's insanity that he's able to dash in somebody's face and laugh at them while blowing them up with a hieroglyphic assault after the root made Kroger Man burn the beads there as well. He's unstoppable. There's nothing you can do to slow this guy down. On her, level 20, pre 20 minutes. Thoth, Thanatos, gonna be hitting that level 20 mark soon. Everyone's grouped up, everyone's back in. I imagine we're gonna see this fire giant go down within the next couple of seconds, even, I would be so bold to say. And what do you do here if you're Shoguns? How do you fix this? Because my answer is you just can't.
Yeah, it's just such a tough task for them based on the decisions they made in the draft phase. And I mean, as we've gotten on, we're 21 minutes in. There's been some action in the solo lane and some ganks over to this side and everything, but not too much. So Rootin' Tootin' Rodents have built this lead without Dashiway coming over and providing more to a team fight than a hybrid build Agni's going to be able to do. I mean, I know the mage solo meta, Agni was super strong in that, but that's because the items built allowed him to do what he needs to do. Fatty Bacon does what he needs to do, gets in there and steals the fire giant, pays for it with his life, but taking that away from the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents is absolutely worth the life of your jungle at this point in time.
The iron price is paid in blood, and it's Fatty Bacon's very fatty blood that ends up paying for that fire giant. I'm sure they're happy to take that one off of them, but Agni's not happy with these hieroglyphic assaults that are focused onto him now. Not enough defense to keep him alive, not enough damage to turn it around. These hybrid builds just aren't the way anymore, and I'm certain he's feeling that right now. On her, leaping in aggressively, no fear, and the pillar blocking the Merlin for only a moment. Morgan Le Fay left to die by her teammates. Fire Giant is a great buff, but it doesn't matter if you die with it.
Yeah, and all 5 members of the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents over here, yeah, they don't get the fire giant, but they take 4. They take that T1 tower. They take this T2 tower. Krogerman over in the right lane does take a T2 tower to, try to get some gold in the Shogun's pockets, but just a great team fight win there. They don't get dejected or go, "Oh, we lost fire giant. I guess we should fall back." They say, "No. Fatty Bacon's out of position. Let's get the kill onto him." They swarm Ben Dizzle like a pack of hyenas and don't let him back. Have him isolated under that tower, nowhere for him to go. Get that kill, get the tower, and swing the any momentum that might have been gained by the Shogun stealing that fire giant has gone right back to the Rodents.
And look at him go. He's finally might end up costing himself his life here. Pele diving in. Fatty Bacon finally takes down the mid laner. That's been such a problem. Pele falling low, though, in response. What a heal. I don't know where that came from, but it made that a little bit more difficult. Sniper Glenn had to use the ultimate there. Meanwhile, the beacon was being taken by the Shoguns, but with no true tank, they have to back off of this as 4 healthy members strong run down the mid lane on her, staying behind to confirm the beacon, and all of the Rodents backing off here to get this beacon for themselves, and there's likely not a very strong potential for a steal.
No, and Rodents do go ahead, capture that beacon, and I imagine they're going to try to get this Gold Fury that's about to spawn here momentarily. And they've just had this game by the throat all 24 minutes and 6 seconds now, and they don't show any signs of letting up. And credit to Shoguns, they're only 4,000, maybe 4,500 gold down, and they're actually the ones pulling this Gold Fury. But unless this Merlin's able to shred it really fast, I don't know if they're going to be able to take it. Thanatos is up in the sky. UwU Shoguns do get the Fury, but what's going to happen afterwards? Thanatos slams down.
A lot of damage. He's trying to make his way to the Merlin. We'll finally clean that
fast.
up. He's so fast indeed, but he's getting CC'd. Beads, Scythe, he might live. No, Kroger Man will not let him get away with this. And he's now turning his attention to the 3 remaining members that are chasing him down. 2 of their own members dead. Aegis is going to come out just to stop this auto attack damage. But now the Terra just running him down under this tier 2, making it very difficult to swing any abilities. Thoth going to fall once again. Pele just cleaning that one up very simply. Might be able to find even more kills if he plays this well, and he has, as he finally gets stunned. Looks like he's going to fall shortly. Dashaway picks it up, but now he's low, and the Agni's going to throw the dot onto him. Not enough damage to turn, but Bendizzle has auto attacks, and it's a deicide for the Shoguns.
What
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah, I don't know.
What happened? In
April
the last,
Fools.
Yeah, April Fools to everybody, apparently. Rootin, Tootin, Rodents just...
You know what it is?
Get outclassed there. The Shoguns played them like a fiddle, brought them out of position, took advantage of everything that they attempted to do, and just punished them for it.
I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. I'm going to tell you what it is. I've got it. I got it right here. I lined it out for you. I said at the beginning of this cap, one last April Fool's joke. And apparently the Shoguns took that personally. So here we are, a deicide for the Shoguns. Pyromancer going down. And what was, I think, only a moment ago, about a 6K gold difference has been closed up to about a 2K gold difference. That's a very massive swing. But I still don't think the Shoguns win this. I really don't.
It's definitely hard. I mean, that's a fantastic fight and a great swing to put them in the momentum in their favor. And like you said, at this point, it's even less. It's about 1,000 gold lead. 1,000 gold, 26 minutes in. That's nothing. You're comfortable taking any fight based on that. However, you do still run into the issue of you guys don't have a tank. Yes, you have 2 mages who have built full tank and half tank bruiser, but any sort of like prolonged engagement is just gonna favor the Rodents, and also short engagements with the burst out of Thoth Thana. Like, the margin for error for Shoguns is so small in these engagements. They have to play their team comp perfectly, and they did just a moment ago. They got a deicide, but are you able to do it repeatedly? Doesn't look like it, as Dashiway ults in and causes chaos, gets away. Thanatos is up in the sky as well. Dashiway picks up the kill. Thanatos slams down onto the Merlin. More damage coming out. Pockles picks up the kill onto Ben. Sniper picks up the kill onto Dr. Shrew. It's a 3-man, 4-man team wipe. It's going to be all 5 here in a moment.
It's looking like a deicide, and Sniper Glenn will get the last kill. Fire Giant, not necessary here, folks. A very strong game. And a very, from the Cyberpunk Otters here. And not a bad game from the Shoguns. It's just the chaos caused by the Jingqian, the lack of a true tank in their lineup really just kind of sells the game here for the Shoguns. This game, there's a term out there called selling, and I think the game was sold at picks and bans here. It was a very clear indicator that the Shoguns put a massive bet on the I'm going to kill them with more damage basket, and it did not pay off, especially since they needed to win this game in the time frame that the Cyberpunk Otters won it in. So, a great game from the Cyberpunk Otters for sure, though. They played it well, knew exactly what they needed to do against this type of strange composition, and it just doesn't work when you know what to do about it.
Yeah, and like you said, just great play out of the Cyberpunk Otters, the Rootin' Tootin' Rodents, whatever you want to call them. They're just able to play together as a unit and pick up the 2-1 set win and make sure they avoid playing in the gauntlet this upcoming weekend.
That's the big one. The gauntlet, right? Yeah. And as I'm pulling up the stat sheets, just to reiterate, I think we may not have pointed it out on cast, but this last week game in week 9 for the Canes division, standings. There we go. Yeah, Gun Show was in 8th. Cyberpunk Otters were in 7th. This 2-1 victory, at the very least, confirms Cyberpunk Otters for playoffs. They will not have to fight it out in the gauntlet. Shoguns, this was their one and final chance to climb out of the gauntlet cesspool, if you will. It's gauntlet is defined as what it is, guys, and it's crabs in a bucket. You're not getting out of this because I'm getting out of this, and if you start getting close to getting out of it, well, then I'm not gonna let you get out of it anyway. And that's what the Cyberpunk Otters have done. They climbed out of the bucket. Gunshow Shoguns tried to claw them back into it, and with a swift kick to the jaw, said, "No, we're not doing that." So, anything else you want to say about this game before we close it out here, Deacon?
Not too much about this game. Like you said, great play there out of Cyberpunk Otters. But if you guys are interested in more crabs in a bucket mentality, make sure you stick around here at the Frank's Retirement Home, as coming up here in just a little bit of time, we have a Walker set for you. We got Killer
Yeah.
Cappers and Death Dealers, two teams who
Hey,
are guaranteed for the gauntlet, but positioning on the line potentially for them.
yeah, that's going to be an exciting set, and I hope everyone sticks around for that one. But for now, this one's over, folks. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you catch this next game. We'll see you in a little. We'll see you in about, oh, we'll say 20 minutes. That's just a good guess. Don't quote me, guys. But until then, thank you for joining us, and have a good night.